I guess I'll start.
Sorry.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to MASKast and our recording session. We're going to go over an episode tonight. Along with me is, of course, Wyatt. How you doing tonight?
I'm groovy. What's going on with you down there in the hot South?
Oh, yes, it's very hot. And let me tell you, it's even hotter when the AC goes out in your truck and,
Yes, it is.
take the interstates to cool off. But
Well, with me growing up, most of my vehicles, whether it was mine or my parents, had the old-fashioned two-window AC.
yeah, yeah. And the sunroof, sometimes three window.
That is true. I had the sunroof on my little Turismo. That actually helped quite a bit.
It did. It did. I remember just taking that whole thing out of there and sitting up there like a turret and spotting for deer.
Yes, that was awesome.
The childhood in Pennsylvania. Let me tell you, you go spotting for deer at
And
night.
porcupines and skunks, watching the buck fights.
Yeah, good times. Good times.
Up until recently, I still had the scorecard that you had kept in my truck.
Oh my gosh.
Uh, I've actually misplaced it. I thought I kept it just out of funds. It was nothing more for fans watching. It was a little 3x5 card, and literally it was just tick marks of how many deer, how many doe, how many bucks. And then Jason started adding to it, like porcupines, and then skunks. And at one point, he even added milk cartons because we actually found I think it was an unopened
Oh
chocolate
wow, I
milk
remember that.
milk carton. I don't know how you found it that was unopened. Probably a kid's lunchbox, dropped or something. But you had found that, added that to the scorecard.
I remember one night we were spotting. It might have been that same night, and we came up on a pack of skunks. I mean, there must have been what 6 or 7 of them
Yes.
out in this field, and I was like, "Let's get out of here." I was not hanging around.
Unlike
Even as the distance I was from.
right, unlike our one classmate, guessing around the fifth or sixth grade, when she haphazardly thought it was a cute cat and walked in with dumped perfume on her, trying to mask the smell, no pun intended, and
I
it
remember
really
that.
did not. And they had like the doors and the air running in the school, and it still didn't work.
I remember that. That was crazy.
That was disgusting. That was disgusting, but it was hilarious at the same time.
Oh, good times. Good times. Well, we've got some mask stuff to talk about.
Lots of it.
We do, and I say we go ahead and get to it since we had some difficulties getting on the air, and I forgot to put a couple things in my notes. So we're scurrying around, and here it is, 30 minutes past when we normally start. So shall we begin?
Let's begin the MASKast.
All right, I've got my intro ready, and if you're watching or if you come in, just if you want to leave a question for us, we'll get to those as we record and kind of the normal routine as we've come to know on Google Hangouts here. So, all right, here we go. We're going to count it down. 3, 2. Hello, agents, and welcome to MASKast 51, which will feature another episode review of the M.A.S.K animated series. Tonight, we will examine episode 38, The Curse of Solomon's Gorge, which will include, as always, our play-by-play commentary and audio clips mixed in from the actual episode. Halfway through and at the conclusion of our podcast, we will give you our thoughts and wrap it all up with a rating using our 1 to 5 scale M.A.S.K-o-meter. We'll also read back listener reviews and comments along with the results from our episode poll. Remember to voice your opinion prior to each podcast on our website at agentsofmask.com, or you can always comment during our live Google Hangout recording session. The Curse of Solomon's Gorge episode was first broadcast on November 20th, 1985 in the United States, and featured Matt Tracker and Alex Sector going to Africa to investigate an archaeological project. While there, Scott and T-Bob discover a lost treasure along with Miles' mayhem, and it's up to M.A.S.K to save them. I am one of your humble hosts, Jason, and with me, as always, on this MASKast journey to review every episode is my partner in crime, the Rick Simon to my AJ Simon, Wyatt. How are you tonight?
I just hear the theme song already. Oh man, I love that show, but I would not remember any single episode if it ever showed up. I just remember the theme song, but I remember that Simon and Simon, and then being dumbfounded, sort of, probably about 10 years from or more when I saw him as Major Dad, at least one of the characters.
Yes, Gerald McCraney.
Yes.
He was actually also in the A-Team movie reboot. He was one of the main characters in that. That was neat to see him because he is kind of a throwback actor. But yeah, Simon and Simon was, I always view it as one of the shows my dad watched when I was a kid. And of course you remember the vehicles that they drove, the truck, and then AJ drove that, what was it, a 57 Chevy, or it was an old convertible.
Yeah, I think it was a 57 Chevy.
It could have been. It was around that era. Can't remember off the top of my head. I know I've seen the car on the Hot Wheels Retro collection many a times, and I have not pulled the trigger on that one, but it was a fun show. I think it was last year. This I don't know if you ever heard of this. It was called like the greatest TV show ever on television or something. It was this event on, I think it was actually Cartoon Network, and it took some of the current actors and they recreated the whole intro for Simon and Simon.
Nice.
They actually recreated a bunch of different intros. One was like Bosom Buddies, and they did Heart to Heart. But my favorite was Simon and Simon, because they had the truck and they had the explosions, and puffing on the cigar. It was great. But yeah, that's one of those shows that, and there was a lot of those kind of action detective type shows back then,
There were
A-Team, Magnum, Hunter, Cagney and Lacey. There was a lot of detective shows, and that was a fun one because they weren't quote unquote cops. I think they were private detectives.
They were,
and I wish they'd put it on Netflix, or it might be on Hulu. I was thinking it was an NBC show, but
I think it is. I don't quote me or don't hold me to it, but I think it is on their NBC, the main sites. If you look for the full episodes, I think it's on there. I liked it because I'm, me as kind of a Dodge fan most of my life.
Right. Yeah. Of course.
That truck was if I remember right, was a '79 Dodge truck, Power Wagon, which was the 4x4 model. And my dad's truck, which I now have, is a '78, so there's just a 1 year difference, really. But I still remember that thing, seeing it, going, man, I'd love to have my dad's truck jacked up like it, and whatever else. Of course, now I have, and I'm cringing because I'm having to replace the mirrors. I broke the one mirror on the driver's side. So I'm cringing whether to replace it with an original, but they're freaking small. They're like 4 by 6 inch little tiny mirrors, or to replace it with much nicer, bigger mirrors. Problem is, if I do that, then I gotta, drill holes in the door and modify it slightly. Not a big, huge thing, but I'm like, I don't want to hurt my baby. Come on. So, I know it's just a truck, right?
Well, some people, their vehicle is essentially a part of them. So,
That one is. Obviously, I mean, it's been with me since 78, so in one way or another. So
do you name your vehicles? You call that one Big Red, right?
I call it Old Red,
Or
but
Old Red. Sorry.
that only surfaced only about 20 years ago because my dad, the only reason I got that truck was because he bought himself a new truck, and it was a green Dodge. So we always called it the pickup. Just plain the pickup. And he called his new truck, the pickup. So I just started saying, well, Old Red, and it kind of stuck. I tried to do the naming car thing. I remember I tried to name that first car of mine, that Pontiac, the Shadow. You and I were trying to pull names out of a hat, and it just never stuck. I tried to name them, but I just, aside from the General Lee and Kit, it just never sticks. So
That's true. That's hard. I actually call my truck the Warthog because when I first got it, I started playing Halo, and that Jeep that they use in Halo. I was playing one night with 3 other guys over at my brother-in-law's house here, and we walked outside after we were playing for a while and looked at my truck, and they're like, "Oh man, it's the Warthog, man! You need to get like one of those big, machine guns up on top in the pickup bed and rip the doors off, and you could totally make that the Warthog." So that kind of stuck.
nice.
But anyway, well, let's move on from Simon and Simon, and let's get our mask on. So I hope by now everybody has heard the news about the M.A.S.K logo being spotted in the recent Hasbro PowerPoint presentation that we found over there on their website. Actually, it was more Toy Arc that found that, and then we, as a lot of sites did, broadcasted that out there. So we got really excited, and we actually put a podcast together, our last podcast with Bill Ferris and Eric Tukey, MattTracker.com, BoulderHill.net, to kind of hash it out and talk about it a little bit, and do some speculating as we've done pretty much the whole year.
Right.
So if you missed that podcast, I say go and listen to that after this one, and join in with us as we try to figure out what Hasbro's going to do. But it's very encouraging to see that it's one of their, what they call, new brands in the presentation, and
right.
We'll see if they do anything with it for the 30th anniversary, or make some announcements. That would be good too. But in less than a week, our story on that little spotting was I think it's the 3rd most popular now all time on the website. So
nice.
It's everybody got really excited about that, and especially shared on Facebook. So I wanted to thank everybody that's been doing the sharing on Facebook. It was shared many times, and that really helped it out. And then, of course, we also talked a little bit about RetroCon, which is coming up September 12th and 13th. And Wyatt and possibly myself, I'm not sure what the percentage is that I'll be there, but Wyatt will definitely be there, and to help celebrate M.A.S.K's 30th anniversary. And Doug Stone will be there. We're putting a panel together just for M.A.S.K, so it will be fun for y'all to get that together. And I saw some messages back and forth with your scheming on what to do for that panel, but it will be fun. I really think people, if you're close to is it the Philadelphia Expo Center? Is that what they call it?
That is it.
If you're close to there, within driving distance of an hour or two, please go grab some tickets over on retrocons.com, and go meet Wyatt and meet Bill, and of course get something signed by Doug Stone.
Of course, at least that.
Exactly.
He's the main celebrity. That's where I'm going. But no, that's initially why I was going. Then when I've heard the news that they wanted to do a mask panel and they invited Bill and myself, I'm like, wow, I'm now a celebrity. Do I need to hire a security crew and get the paparazzi and whatever else? No, just kidding.
Well, I know you'll enjoy it. I'm hoping I might be able to get a day off or something and drive up, or I don't know, hitch a train just to get up there. It's
Right.
going to be a special time for M.A.S.K's 30th anniversary.
That is it.
Some other fun things I just wanted to quickly mention that have come to my attention and posted on the website recently. One of those was that concept for Matt Tracker and Miles Mayhem as those Funko pop vinyl figures.
Yes.
That was really cool. Shout out to Luca Canu, who tweeted those pictures to us and reposted up there on the blog. And those also caused me to go on a little rant to Hasbro in the blog post, but with this little glimmer of hope we got this past week, maybe something like that really will be a reality before too long. So also a quick shout out to Rafa Lario, who sent me some scans of this Video Riza magazine, which is kind of the Mexican equivalent to something like Mad Magazine back in the day. It's more of a comic book style, but he sent me a couple issues that actually parodied M.A.S.K, and I posted one of those up on the blog, and I'll post the other one in the future. But they were pretty hilarious, and it was just funny how they essentially were drawing the characters correctly, but they changed out the color schemes. I don't know if you saw that or not. That was pretty crazy that they, M.A.S.K was so popular that they parodied it in this comic. So you found a fun little picture of what could have been the first Piranha bike. That was that was hilarious.
I actually had a little bit of time at lunch at work, and I'm sitting there going, you know what? I haven't done my part, so to speak, on the blog. I'm just so busy with work and after work. But I'm like, I just put in, I can't even remember what I put. I think odd. I think a search was odd sidecars or something like that, and that was within like a page or two. I'm like, let's have some fun with this. And then I stumbled upon. I did the same search with I think it was with what I punch in with semi truck and
that was
big truck. Too. Big truck was the search, and I just found this thing that looks like it had nothing but smokestacks hanging up the front end of it. And I think that's a little bit excessive, at least in my interpretation of the future Rhino. But I thought, you know what? Why not? Let's get some opinion, or at least stir the pot on this one. I couldn't find anything custom on Manta, and I looked for Shark, and I even looked for Thunderhawk, the IROC Z, and there was nothing really unique of anything. The worst thing I saw on the IROC was they made a funny car out of it. That's it. So.
Well, the bicycle with the wooden boat sidecar that's what really got me. That was funny. So if you missed those pictures, go over to our Facebook page and check those out. Those are pretty hilarious. I also wanted to quickly invite everyone again to create an profile over at wewantmask.com and post your pictures and articles as kind of a petition to Hasbro to produce a new M.A.S.K movie or cartoon or merchandise. Bill Ferris is the one that essentially put that website together, and we, as a triumvirate of M.A.S.K fans between Matt Tracker and us and BoulderHill.net, kind of launched that site. I guess it's been a few months now. And Doug
Probably
Stone
working on
was
about 5 months. Yeah.
Doug Stone was over there and posted a message. So it's fun. It's just do what you want. It's kind of you can write an open letter to why you like M.A.S.K and why they should bring it back. And
right. This is in addition to Scott Crawford's M.A.S.K petition that he's put in as well.
Right. Yeah. Good point.
So there's a lot of right now. There's at least two like entities trying to get through to Hasbro, and maybe this is a glimpse with what we saw in that icon, that logo.
Yeah.
That they're trying to appease us, like we speculated. We just don't know what's going on down the road. Just hopefully it's in a positive direction with M.A.S.K. At least see something on the radar.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, we got M.A.S.K Day coming up before too long.
Yes.
I think it's September 16th is what we adopted as M.A.S.K Day.
I think that's what was adopted. Yes.
And Scott was the one that initially headed that up. I saw a post go by today, or actually I think it was yesterday on his blog about that. It had been a year, and we really haven't got anything planned so far yet for that day, other than I think maybe we'll run a contest or something, giveaway for that day. But we'll definitely have something planned and come together with all the other sites like we did last year and do something throughout the day. I think we ended up doing a podcast. Did we do a podcast last year?
We did.
Mm-hmm.
It was, of course, it wasn't live, but I think we did do a podcast. We did
Oh no, we did the live. We did the live little thing on Facebook.
Oh yeah, that's what we
asking
did.
People to comment and basically piggyback on Scott. I think he did that as well, and I don't know if Matt Tracker and Boulder Hill did that or not, but yeah, that was fun. We got to interact a little bit with people live on Facebook. So maybe this year we'll actually do the hangout like I think we were trying to put together last year. And
that'd be
just
great.
sit back and do a chat, and we can ask questions and such. So that'll be coming up later this year. And did you see those papercraft figures I found over on DeviantArt?
I watched your little how-to video. I think it was yesterday or the day before, but you had actually sent me a text. Like,
that's right, yeah.
And I'm paraphrasing, but you basically said, "I found the mother lode," and here I'm like, "What the?" And you're saying about these little box art cutouts. Yeah. So I watched your video. I'm like, "This is awesome."
Yeah.
And what's hilarious is I'm sitting there going, "Why does Jason find all these?" And here I am this weekend chopping down trees.
Well, you've got DeviantArt is just a fun site to sift through, and new stuff kind of comes up like that, but it's not always labeled correctly either. Like this guy that posted those, he's got just a ton of stuff that he's designed, and you can basically download the templates and print them out and cut them, together, and cut them and fold them and put them together yourself. And he actually called Vanessa, I think Melissa Warfield or something. But I didn't sift through his whole catalog of stuff enough when I first found it, because I found Matt and found Vanessa. And then I made a little video. I was really excited. And the next day I was sifting through, and I found, of all things, I found the Knight Rider tractor trailer he did in Goliath from that show, and the Christmas Vacation house, which I put together last night. Nuts. But I found Miles Mayhem and Brad Turner and Cliff Dagger as well. So he's got 5 characters that are in this papercraft, kind of Minecraft looking figures that you can put together. And I've got the templates out there. So if you go to that blog post or go to our YouTube video and look in the description. There's links to the templates directly onto DeviantArt. So go check those out. Those are really fun. And if you're a collector like me, they're just real fun to put together and be part of your M.A.S.K collection, so to speak.
Right.
But one more thing, I want to do a listener shout out tonight in this way. I'm over on our podcast host, Audiometric. They now allow us to see geographically where our downloads are coming from. So I thought it'd be fun to kind of give a shout out to our listeners, maybe not by name, but by country. So I pulled up some stats over the past 3 months, and we've had several countries downloading our podcast, including, of course, the United States, Canada, Australia, Russia, the UK, France, Germany, Luxembourg, Norway and Sweden, Slovenia, Italy, Poland, and Indonesia. Can you believe it? So I thought that was really cool. And you can see by, how many downloads. So there's, usually probably 1 or 2 people in that country, and they'll download it a few times or whatever. You can zoom in pretty close to the city, where they're at. But I also thought a fun game for you, Wyatt, would be focusing back on our home country here, is to have you do a little quiz and maybe guess some of the top states that download our podcast. See if you can guess. I've got the top 11, but there's 3 that's tied for 9th place. They all have the same amount of downloads. But
Well, I know that I listen to our podcast fairly often. I usually listen to it 2 times through. One to kind of critique our editing, which is pretty spot on anyway, but I do critique Jason's work now and then. And then the second time is actually to listen to for enjoyment, just to see what I said or bloopers or whatever else. So I'm going to guess Maryland as one of them. I'm going to think of maybe New Jersey, and I'll try California. I'm thinking of Bill and Eric.
Well, your Maryland was correct. That came in at 7th place. California was 2nd. There was a lot around LA in the Sacramento area, if I remember correctly.
Who knows? Maybe Doug's listening to us more than we think.
New Jersey didn't make the list.
Sorry, Bill.
Oddly enough, the state that pulls us in, there must be either one person that just loves us, or has a few buddies around there that listen to us as well, is Kansas. And they were actually about 4 times as many downloads as the 2nd place, which was California, which was interesting to me. So they love us in Kansas, let me tell you.
Hey, that works for me.
Then we go, Tennessee was 3rd, Kentucky 4th, Texas was 5th, 6th was North Dakota, listening to us up there, I guess when they're trying to keep warm in the winter. Well, this is just
I didn't think we got that hot and steamy on freaking radio.
Yeah, and then Maryland, Indiana, and then tied for 9th was Alabama. That would be me, Illinois, and Pennsylvania. So I thought that was just fun to go through the geography of it and give people some. If we can't give them a shout out by name, we can at least shout out their country and state. Yeah. So anyway, awesome. Well, I'm out. Are you? Do you have anything else to add as far as news?
Nothing. No, nothing newsworthy. You've pretty well covered it. We're still working on things like Jason indicated about RetroCon. So we're still working on that. We're still working on what to do with it. We indicated that more so on the last MASKast chat, uh, trying to see if we want to do up T-shirts or flyers or both or something. So stay tuned. We'll figure out what we're doing, what's in the works, and what we can afford. Got to be honest. And
Well, let's
that's
before we get into the show, we've got a couple people that have checked in here. We've got is that in Spanish?
I'm thinking it's Spanish or perhaps Portuguese.
It could
Good
be
stories. He says hi and how
Wagos.
you doing?
That's his name. I'm sorry if we're butchering your name, but we appreciate you you checking in. And then, of course, our buddy Vaughn. He's been faithful to join us for about a good portion of our MASKast since we've been on Google Hangouts.
Right.
And he's chiming in again on where did he go? I thought we had a question from him.
No, he just started watching. It looks like
Okay, I thought he had something up there again. It might have been left over from the last time talking about the one of the. There it is. Hi. This year's the 30th anniversary of the fantastic world of Hanna-Barbera.
that is true.
So I'm trying to remember exactly. Was that the show where they combined a bunch of the cartoon characters?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Yeah, there's a couple this year. 85 was Thundercats. I think it's the 30th this year. And who's the other one? One of the bigger ones. Just slipped my mind. But yeah, there's a bunch of 30th anniversary. Maybe we need to team up with some other cartoon fan sites.
Well, we got yours. We have
true.
we discovered the 80s. We could be doing that. We were catching on a couple of the anniversaries a year or two ago with Knight Rider and Airwolf and A-Team. That was a fun one, actually.
That we got the most posts out of that one.
Yeah.
We must have did about a dozen. We called it that one just came to me as well. We just happened to be celebrating the A-Team's 30th in October, so I was like, it's Murdochtober. I thought it was.
And then it just snowballed from there. We came up with BA's best lines, I think. Actually, you changed it a little bit. And then we came up with Faceman's 10 best scams, Hannibal's best disguises.
The vehicles, the 10 best whatever vehicle creations or something.
Yeah, I don't know if it was 10, but we got a few vehicle creations out of it. And then I kind of went off on a small tangent and had vehicle basically crossovers. I had Airwolf, the Santini Air helicopter, Kit, and even Roscoe's sheriff's car made brief appearances on A-Team. So it was pretty neat to do those articles. That was fun.
Yeah, that was really, really cool. Hard to believe that this stuff is turned in 30 and even 35. I think it was
It's up there.
that turned
And so
35 this year. Yeah. Anyway, well, let's go ahead and move forward and get our episode review going. How about that?
Let's start the MASKast. We pan across a starry night canvas with a leopard in a tree. Then we fade to a waterfall and eventually come upon a campsite of archaeologists who are discussing their latest find. As they are chatting, Jennings notices that the water level in their well is dropping quite rapidly. Suddenly, one of the natives shouts, "The curse Suluma is coming." We learned that it appears that they have defiled their land, thus the earthquakes that are occurring. Next, we see a brilliant light and hear an explosion. The archaeologists That's a tongue twister, I guess, tonight.
Yeah.
The archaeologists
Yeah.
do not seem anxious at all. In fact, they appear curious and investigate the source. As they come upon a cliff, they notice that their vehicles have disappeared. The next day, we see Thunderhawk cruising with the local rhinos running alongside. Scott announces to T-Bob, "Look, rhinos!" And T-Bob sneezes.
Here we go.
Here we go. Now, and I'll comment later, I'm sure, more about it in our ratings, but from first glimpse, I saw that we always see humanity with T-Bob. So this is
Right.
just another tick or another check mark, so to speak, that T-Bob has. So Scott asks if he is still upset about missing his proto service checkup, which I didn't know that he had some kind of freaking checkup. Isn't Scott the one that built him? Or,
Well, yeah. I mean, there's times we determined that Buddy was one of the ones that kind of works on him, and I don't know. Maybe Scott takes him into the Boulder Hill, gas station for his 3,000-mile checkup.
yeah, I don't know.
And he went past the sticker that was on the back of him, for
Those stickers were
3 months or 3,000 miles or whatever.
Right. Anyway, T-Bob replies that he would not have this flu if he would have done what he's supposed to. Of course, Scott corrects him or tries to correct him and says he can't get the flu, which T-Bob then corrects him once again and says it's a faulty linkage unit. So it is a flu. M.A.S.K arrives and are quickly escorted to the gorge. Looking down, they see the flattened vehicles with Matt commenting that at least T-Bob wasn't there. They wouldn't be able to find him. T-Bob sarcastically laughs it off, saying that they won't need any service checkups. He then asks for tissues, with Scott jokingly asking, "Do you have a runny nose?" And T-Bob replies with leaky batteries as Alex hands him a tissue. Now here, leaky batteries, battery acid, that eats at a freaking metallic and anything else. So I'd be thinking like his mouth is like disappearing before our eyes. So
Well, even though this was pretty corny and I, was ready for this to continue throughout the whole episode, I did have one laugh out loud moment right here where you kind of left off when T-Bob gets the tissue and says, "Blowing unit on."
Yes, I like that. I did like that. That was good.
I did laugh at that, but I don't know. I was kind of unimpressed with the setup scene there, and I don't know. I was comparing this episode, I guess, to some in recent memory, and just wasn't. I don't know. The beginning didn't hit the mark for me with the drama and usually the drama is with people or people missing or something happening to people, and their vehicles getting smashed was I don't know. It didn't do it for me.
Yeah, I wasn't clinched. That's probably the right word for it.
Yeah. Well, anyway, pull my notes back up here. After they look over the cliff there, they go to the bottom of the gorge now, and Matt acknowledges why the workers won't return because we see this, the smashed vehicles there. The head archaeologist says that he thinks it's just superstition, that the workers blamed it on Saluma, which is the name of the gorge and the god of this area, supposedly. And Alex kind of agrees with him. Matt asked them if they have any ideas of what's going on. And one of the other archaeologists states that there was no winds or seismic activity, just the water level dropping in the well, which is still low. And then this head guy, he gives Matt this scarab to examine, with Alex stating that he thinks it's Egyptian. and then it could support the legend of this lost tribe of Egypt. And the head archaeologist, he kind of disagrees with Matt, saying that this is all fascinating, but now the project is kind of behind schedule. And he's more of a realist, I guess, than this fantasy about a lost tribe or whatever. Well, Matt kind of takes charge, since this is, we kind of learned this is his project, or he's funding it at least. He orders the guy to go back into town and replace the equipment and hire new workers. We head back to Thunderhawk, and I kind of like this moment. Matt kind of leans back against Thunderhawk and kind of casually asks Alex what he thinks.
Right.
Matt's kind of casual approach to the situation, he's usually barking orders and you go here and check this out, and you go here and check this out, or asking the computer for assistance, but he's just kind of leaning back against the vehicle. And what do you think, Alex?
Right, and I thought of this as that Matt was really just perplexed. This one just really got him. He had no clue where to go, so he's leaning on what he has, the advice of Alex, thinking maybe there's a scientific explanation or geological or something that makes sense to Alex that Matt can't seem to think of.
Right. Well, and then this whole moment here of trying to figure out what's going on is kind of broken by these stupid footsteps that T-Bob makes throughout the whole episode. This sound effect kills me. And they used it in one or two of the other episodes too, and I really didn't like it. But anyway, I mean, I guess it was supposed to be for T-Bob, but I don't know. It sounds more like T-Bob walking through mud or something, or got gum stuck on the bottom of his foot. It's just kind of a,
right.
It just, I don't know, gets annoying after a while. But anyway, so Scott asks Alex about this lost tribe that he was talking about, and Alex turns on Thunderhawk's dashboard computer, shows some images of pyramids and such, and stating the lost tribe was supposed to include some of the most ingenious builders of the empire. And they took their wealth and headed south to build a new kingdom, but were never heard from again. And Scott's kind of wowed over the idea of, hidden treasure. And
of course,
Alex eggs him on, saying this was the richest treasure in the world. And then Matt tells Alex he wants to take a look from the sky, and they take off in Thunderhawk.
Right, and this was a very good transformation. To me, it always seems like they're improving more and more with this.
I was thinking this was probably recycled footage.
It looked recycled, but I wasn't quite. I wasn't quite sure. It looked like it was recycled, but maybe tweaked a little.
It could have been, or it just could have been because it was so quick. And
right. It was quick.
Usually there's more of a running along the ground, the transformation, and then, taking off into the sky. And this was just more of they're already right up in the sky by the time you blink your eyes. So.
But anyway, after the transformation, they leave the duo behind. Scott looks for the treasure while T-Bob comments about having a temperature. Scott says he's hypochondriac, while T-Bob reminds him that this linkage unit went out, causing more heat. So Scott suggests that he sit at a distance and simply wait. T-Bob begins whining about how he gets no respect. And right away there, I'm thinking of
Rodney Dangerfield.
Rodney Dangerfield there when he says that.
Well, I love the place where he chooses to sit. I'm going to sit on these boards on top of a well.
Yeah, that was the smartest thing to do. And anyway, he mocks Scott when he was sick, and he stands atop this board over a well, like you mentioned, and he sneezes and loses his balance. It didn't even break. He loses his balance on this board and falls down the well. We cut to Thunderhawk flying above, Alex notices that the water level has risen. They also notice a groove in the landscape, as well as parts from the wrecked vehicles. Actually, like a shimmer effect, which I really liked. But they are perplexed at how they are at the other end of the gorge when the vehicles are, I guess, at the far end. We're back to our duo. Scott yells down to see how T-Bob is. He stammers around, and Scott tells him to turn on his lights. He
Of
comments
course.
that he should be in a hospital and notices a tunnel. Scott yells that he's uh, coming down, while T-Bob insists that Scott retrieve him. They begin their exploration as we hear the Venom theme fade up. Scott is amazed that it is bigger than the Astrodome.
That's a little dated
Yeah, it
reference
is.
there. Astrodome doesn't even exist anymore.
I didn't think so, but I'm not a
Yeah.
sports nut, so I wouldn't know.
Well, it was one of the premier sporting venues of its time when it was built.
Hmm.
And I remember, I think it was the Bad News Bears movie. At the end of that, when they go into their championship game or whatever, it's played at the Astrodome,
Oh,
which
wow.
was for the time was really cool to have a little league baseball team play inside this big dome. But yeah, I can't remember what year, but they tore it down and they built a new stadium there in Houston.
Hmm.
So anyway,
So Scott has T-Bob turn his lights on again and notices that something may have been left behind from the lost tribe. T-Bob worries that they will be part of the lost tribe if they do not get out of there. As they look around, they notice a shimmering light from the underground lake. T-Bob worries that it's Saluma, and Scott says, "Let's get out of here," and they all run away. Go ahead.
yeah, I kind of rolled my eyes at that.
Yeah.
But they are pretty much scaredy cats once the stuff hits
Mostly
the
T-Bob.
fan. Well, T-Bob, yeah, true. But after they hightail it out of there, we are back at the camp, and Matt and Alex have cooked up a pot of coffee there at the campfire, and Matt's talking to Alex, thinking that the only logical explanation is that the walls of the gorge somehow closed and crushed the vehicles. I thought that was kind of obvious after they found the parts on the other side. But,
Right.
Alex thinks it's impossible, and Scott and T-Bob now enter the camp. Scott shows them what they found and explains the story of T-Bob falling down the well and having to go save him. Matt scolds him for not, avoiding the area, which he, I guess, told him to stay away from before they took off into the air. Matt hands this cable to Alex and says he thinks it's a motorcycle brake cable. Alex looks at the manufacturer markings and says it's the brand that Venom uses. How convenient.
And how would he know that? I mean,
well,
do they buy Harleys or something? What?
that just kind of got me. I was like, okay, is there a Venom brand, or is there a certain manufacturer they get all their parts from? I don't know. That just was a little okay, whatever.
Right.
Too convenient. Matt stoops to pull out his laptop and runs down the whole mystery of wondering what it all means. T-Bob says Saluma is moonlighting for M.A.M. and Matt uses the laptop to call Boulder Hill headquarters. And we get a quick glimpse of Bruce
Right.
at Boulder Hill, and he doesn't say anything. I'm not sure why. Usually when Matt phones in, it's usually just to the computer to select the agents or whatever. But Bruce is sitting there at his station, like he's been waiting for Matt to call in, but he doesn't say a word. Just kind of.
Now, I didn't catch that or understand why that little piece was there. We can joke and think that maybe the computer was out, and so
He was fixing it. Yeah.
he was fixing it, and he kind of did the guesswork for the computer to send Gloria and Brad. But I'm like, that was really an unneeded little
Yeah.
snippet that they put in there.
Yeah. So anyway, Matt asks for the best team for underwater and the desert. And the computer selects Gloria Baker because of her obviously underwater vehicle Shark, and Brad Turner for his. I was trying to understand what they were saying. I think it said his expert rating in both terrains and
Yeah, I think that's what it said.
air maneuverability, I think is what they end with. And Matt approves for immediate transport to Africa. Now, I thought this was good that he the first little bit of data he puts in there is just basically the terrain, but he doesn't say
Where they're at.
where they're at, and then he just adds that in at the end that they're ready for immediate transport to Africa. So it was just a little bit different than what he normally says when he's requesting the team. But by this point, Scott and T-Bob, they are wandering off camp again.
Of course, and they're looking for that secret entrance to find their treasure. Finally, we come upon Venom with Miles looking for a control unit. Rax complains about having to go back to the underground lake, complaining about rocks, vermin, mold, and so forth. As they notice the duo, and Dagger points out that it's a kid and a walking trash can. And what dumbfounds me yet is they still don't see the connection here. They see them. They've seen them, what, 3 times now?
Oh, it's been more than that.
And they still don't figure that, if these guys are around, well, maybe Matt or M.A.S.K is hanging around too.
Yeah. Wasn't it, I think it was Cold Fever, where they're actually in that little dome and
Scott,
like runs into the back of Mayhem or something. Hey, what's this kid doing here?
That's it.
Hey, wait, isn't that the same kid in this walking trash can?
Right.
It would seem, better for them to recognize them.
Of course. But nonetheless, Dagger leans his elbow against a rock, which acts like a depressed switch, which then in turn begins to cause all these rumblings, the earthquakes that they were experiencing. Alex is using a device and throws the equipment to the ground because of the great sound.
Yeah, looked like some kind of seismic equipment or something.
That's what I thought it was, but I wasn't quite sure. The water in the well then drains, as Matt points out. There's your answer. He quickly looks back and notices that Scott has disappeared again. We immediately cut to Thunderhawk transforming and flying off, and we are then taken to a portion of the gorge wall that is moving. And right now, I'm loving the intensity that the action is starting to come into now, because it's like boom, boom, boom. Let's get there. Let's get to Scott, or get to what's going on right now. So I'm liking that. When the duo are running, they're out seeking their safety as they do. The gorge movement reveals a triangular entrance with T-Bob tripping and then yelling for help. And we are taken to our dramatic commercial break.
Yes.
I'm almost afraid to ask, but what is your rating so far?
Well, just going back to that final scene, I was still kind of confused with the water level and how that affected the walls collapsing of the gorge. And then when Matt said, there's your answer, and he points, but they don't show what the answer is.
Right.
So, you assume it's just the walls collapsing or whatever. I don't understand why they didn't show that. So that was kind of why aren't you showing it if you're saying there's the answer? And then what got me was they look back to camp to see if Scott and T-Bob was there. Well, they zoom in on their beds. Well, why would they be in bed? It's the middle of the day.
Exactly.
Um, so that was kind of, puzzling. Unless, Matt would have said, all right, you go, you know, your timeout on your sleeping bag or something to leave him there. But,
Right.
here we go again with Matt needing a leash on these two. He seems to lose them every 10 minutes or so. And then when they go back up to the sky to look for them, it's the same Thunderhawk footage
Right.
they used before. So I don't. The first half, since we're here at halftime, I did kind of like that the mystery of the gorge was more to our imaginations at the beginning. They really
Right.
didn't show much. They showed the bright light, and that can work well. But I don't know. I just wasn't really intrigued with it at first, and now that we see it has moving parts and secret entrances, and it's a little more captivating. So they finally got to there, but like I said, the logistics of the whole thing was kind of confusing to me. That this groove that they could only see from the sky, which I was like, why? It's just water running down the middle of the gorge. You didn't see that before,
Exactly.
And how they had to be in the sky to see the parts across from the gorge sparkling in the sunlight when they obviously would have been closer when they were down in the gorge anyway to see across to the other side. But I don't know. That was a little got me out of the episode for a minute. But you also missed a fun part there where Rax is complaining about being down in the water with all the vermin and all that stuff, and Vanessa has a fun little comeback there where she's like, "Well, that's your favorite environment or something," she says.
Oh yeah, I forgot to jot that down.
That was kind of comical. The perfect environment, I think, is what she says for him. So, yeah, I always like them going back and forth. That was good.
Yeah. They're fun.
So far, the episode is all about Scott and T-Bob and their little excursion. So I dropped it down a little bit, and with the stupid footsteps sound effect too. I'm probably down around a 4 to 3.5 at this point from 5.
Wow.
So, what about you?
Well, I dinged it a little bit because there's that disconnect between Venom and Scott and T-Bob. They just still have yet to figure out that they're part of M.A.S.K. At some point, at least they keep showing up.
Right.
So I dinged it there because you think by now they kind of get a clue. We know that they. I also dinged it because of the blurb with Bruce as Matt calls in for the troops.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see what that was needed, why that was needed. We didn't get our roundtable, but it was explained because Matt says, go for immediate transport to Africa. Got it. But we don't even have a mask sequence. Something, hey, go grab the masks and go.
Right.
Which I know that's intermittent anymore, but I still like seeing that piece.
Yeah, and it, all it would have taken was that maybe they're already at Boulder Hill for some reason, or usually they do the call up, they show those setup scenes of them rushing to Boulder Hill, and then they do the powwow with Matt, usually on the big screen, and they're at the round table. And I just like that flow a lot better than what they've been doing, it seems, lately, which is sometimes they show that, and sometimes it's just hurry up and get there, and which is, I mean, it's okay. And even if they essentially stayed with Matt on the laptop and flashed the agents on his laptop and just kept it there without going to Boulder Hill, that would almost be better than trying to set up any little short scene at Boulder Hill. But yeah, I'm kind of with you that there's just a little bit of disconnect there from what they normally do. So
on the bright side, I see an escalation in the episode It was kind of dull at the beginning. There really wasn't um, that much captivating me, but now we're getting kind of drawn into something. Something's there, the treasure,
Mhm.
uh, as well as even as much as it seems to be focused on Scott and T-Bob. There's something there that's drawing them in. They keep leaving all the time. So even
Yeah.
if it's for if it's for stupid comedy, there's something drawing them away, keeping us somewhat intrigued, at least me. Um, I mentioned that Thunderhawk transformation was good. Um, the I'm not sure that I liked this cliffhanger with T-Bob like possibly being squashed, but at the same time, it's kind of like that is Scott's robot, so he might actually be squashed, but he also has motor scooter mode. So why didn't he just change and go?
Right.
We've seen that though a lot of times where they're running versus motor scooter mode. Is he faster running than on wheels? I just don't get it. But uh, overall, I'm right around I call it a 4.5. Not a serious ding, but it's coming
Okay.
down.
Okay. All right. Well, coming back out of the break, T-Bob stands up after tripping over nothing, and he opens this rear compartment and uses a like jet booster to
Hmm.
fly out of harm's way. And he says that Saluma plays one mean game of squash. Well, this is a cool feature. I wish they had
I like this.
like incorporated it more in the show to this
Yeah,
point that T Bob can actually fly, for a little bit at least. But I I was kind of the same thing like you. I was figuring he was gonna do the motor scooter mode and zip on out of there at the last minute when they incorporated this like jet engine
right.
uh, to get him out of harm's way. But I don't know. That was a cool point in this episode. I'll
Right.
leave
I
it
did like this feature, so I brought it up a little bit.
at that. Right. Now from above, Mayhem is looking down from their little perch where this lever is, and he sees the entrance now to the where the treasure is. The walls begin to retract, and from inside, Scott and T-Bob now watch the entrance opening disappear, and it goes kind of dark again. Scott tells T-Bob to turn on his lights, of course, his eye lights, I call them. And they see the sparkling treasure now in the distance. So they finally find the treasure. And what do? You slowly walk up to it with those annoying footsteps.
Of course.
You find a long lost treasure. Are you really going to just kind of stroll up to it and, oh, hey, look what we found? You're going to run, dude. You're going
Heck
to like
yeah.
jump into it. You're going to be like Scrooge McDuck, and jumping into this gold. That was kind of anyway. Scott grabs this crown and he says now that they can get anything they've ever wanted. With T-Bob responding, "Can you get us out of here?" Well, two things here. First, they probably can already get anything they
Exactly.
want. And second, T-Bob's little response to Scott didn't really match up with his actions. Did you see that?
No.
It was
Yeah.
his voice was late. He did this big arm motion, and then he did his little, line
Hmm.
after that about getting out of there. But I did notice that. Anyway, uh, back outside from the air, Matt says that this explains the vehicles being crushed and that Mayhem is involved. Okay. I don't know why he thinks Mayhem is involved, other than they found this brake cable.
Right.
But then we're back to wondering where Scott and T-Bob are.
Sorry, I lost my.
Oh, let me keep going there, and then I'll turn it over to you. So they wondering where Scott and T-Bob are, and then the mask the masks lower from the roof of Thunderhawk.
Yeah, but no
And,
command again.
well, there was no command, and I didn't really like the motion. They just kind of plopped on their heads.
But
Did
the
you
one thing
notice that?
I did, but what I did notice that I kind of liked, even though there was no command or anything, was they both straightened their heads to
Front,
basically receive the helmets, and then went back to looking out the windows.
right. But it was just kind of like almost like it was unexpected or something.
Right.
There's, like you said, there's no voice command, and it's like they're just kind of flying along. All of a sudden, whoop. Oh, okay, my mask's on. And then Alex looks over. Oh, I better put my head forward. Whoop.
Right.
It was very abrupt. Usually there's that kind of mechanical arm or something that
Mm-hmm.
you get that, there's like a little sound effect they'd used before. And this one just kind of plopped it on their heads. But I don't know.
So now we see
Anyway.
the footprints, and Matt comments that they need to go to the far end. Miles notices that M.A.S.K has arrived, as always, and orders Dagger and Vanessa to go stop them. Dagger is perplexed as to why the button doesn't work. Mayhem loudly tells him that the water level isn't right yet and yells at them to get out before he breaks it. Rax assumes that Miles wants him to go get the treasure. However, Miles tugs on him and says that he'll do it. Rax argues that he couldn't have done this without him, the job. Miles attempts some reverse psychology and tells him that he has something better for him, more complicated, that he can handle. And then he says to stay here and push the lever when he instructs.
Yeah, some complicated work there.
Yeah, I see.
Push the lever, Rex. I'm surprised he didn't, give him a come back after telling him what his job was going to finally be.
Right. Matt and Alex continue to ponder where the duo are, with Matt theorizing they might have found a recess. As Alex is perplexed about the water, Vanessa begins blasting at them as they get into Thunderhawk. We see Matt start Thunderhawk, which I liked. I liked the vibration, the animation that they used for that.
Mm-hmm.
As Jackhammer arrives and begins blasting at them, Thunderhawk transforms and then flies out of the gorge as Matt says that he doesn't like tailgaters.
Talking about Manta there.
Yes. Using the binoculars, Rax advises Mayhem that the water level is back up.
That was
Miles,
quick.
yeah, real quick. Miles lowers Switchblade in a large shipping container as he says that he's ready. Rax pushes the button, and we see that the water level now decreases and the gorge begins to shift, revealing this door. The Scott and T-Bob are simply sitting inside, patiently waiting. And as the door opens, Scott comments and says to run for it. Outside, as the air battle between Manta and Thunderhawk continues, Alex notices Mayhem and Matt and surmises that this is where Scott and T-Bob are. We then see the transport plane arrive right at the edge of the gorge, and it looks like it's vertically landing like a Harrier.
I noticed that too, and I put that in my my notes that I did not know it could do that Harrier style landing.
Neither did I.
I haven't seen that before. It's more of a runway style up to this point.
And then we see Shark and Condor roll out with the transport plane leaving in the background. So this sucker has an autopilot system now? Did this drop his load and go back home? Or
I didn't notice that.
yeah, you see it taking off as you see the cars roll out or driving down the gorge or whatever, the roadway. You see transport plane just taking off right behind them.
Maybe it was Bruce.
Maybe Bruce had to catch a flight elsewhere. I don't know.
Since he was getting the data and he was out of the mission, so to speak, maybe he just drove the transport plane over.
Who knows? Next.
All right. Okay.
Unless you want me to take another.
No, I see. I'm seeing where I'm at here. So after Condor and Shark exit, with Shark giving chase to Jackhammer, which is now on top of the gorge. Wasn't sure how that happened since he was blasting that Thunderhawk down in the gorge just a couple scenes ago. Condor converts, and Brad asks to cut in on the dogfight between Thunderhawk and Manta. Matt says she does a mean tango, as Brad replies, he'll have to teach that fox to trot. Roll my eyes. Thunderhawk now breaks off from the dogfight and just let Condor go at her for a while. He sees Mayhem entering the opening, with Scott recognizing him right away, of course. They turn to run back inside the entrance towards the treasure, with T-Bob stating hide mode on, or hiding mode on. And then outside, Thunderhawk now is in this dive towards the closing entrance, with Alex shouting that they aren't going to make it. Now, I thought this might be would have been a better setup for the halftime.
Right.
And have, Thunderhawk looking like it's not going to make it, into this entrance that's closing.
Right.
But anyway, Matt tells him that he will make it and instructs Alex to take over the controls. Well, Matt uses Spectrum Hang Glider now to swoop inside this entrance right before it closes, and then he lands on top of this big statue. Mayhem, I love this his reaction here.
Mm-hmm.
He had that awesome evil laugh and says he's found King Solomon's treasure and that the legend was true. From above, Matt uses Spectrum Infrared now to locate where Scott and T-Bob are hiding, which he earlier stated that this could be the only place they could be, would be in this temple or wherever they're at there.
Right.
Scott keeps T-Bob from sneezing at one point, and then he looks up and sees Matt on the statue. We quickly go back outside to Manta, who is now firing on Condor with some stray shots coming close to Rax's position up there on top of the ledge there where the lever is. And he tells her to watch where she's firing that thing. Back inside, Matt gives Scott some hand signals about running back towards the back of the cave there. And just about that time, T-Bob lets out a sneeze, and Mayhem turns around to say, this is his treasure, And this is where we get that awesome shot of his face through the Viper mask that I posted up on Facebook a while back. And that was really cool. I often think there's some masks that you could do that and almost see the people's face, behind it. But this is definitely the first time that we've actually seen it, and I really liked it. You can see his, stern look on his face as he's barking at them for being near his treasure.
Right.
And then as he notices them, Matt then uses Spectrum Hang Glider again to drop down to the floor and tells Mayhem to pick on someone his own size. And he does by firing Viper back at Matt, and essentially tells him that he has him trapped in there. He fires Viper again. He hits one of these tall statues, and Matt now is with Scott and T-Bob and asks them if they're all right. T-Bob points to the statue now that it looks like it's ready to topple from all the Viper acid or whatever that's eaten through. And Matt tells them to run as the statue falls over into the back wall, causing this underground lake that's behind it to start seeping through. And this is where we get Mayhem radioing to Rax to open the door. And he does, and hightails it out of there. Rax has had enough of this. I'm not sure why he's had enough, other than he's been had some friendly fire, at him. But
yeah,
he's, after wanting to essentially get the treasure with Mayhem. Now he's like, screw it all. So I don't know. I didn't understand that whole side of it. But we get back down into the gorge and we see Jackhammer's now stuck.
Right, he's stuck in the mud with Dagger trying to get it moving as the gorge walls kind of creep towards him. Rax complies about the. I'm sorry. We see a great exterior shot of the cockpit of Switchblade while Miles is using the radio mic to call Rax, and he hurriedly instructs Rax to open the door as he is caught in the cave. Rax complies, then hops onto Piranha and says, "Oh, you said that."
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, we've.
It looked like I was missing something. All right,
No.
cut, retake. Jackhammer is stuck in the mud, like you said, with Dagger trying to get it moving as the gorge walls creeps toward him. Inside, Switchblade stops and hovers above Matt as Miles says, "Another day, another treasure," and then flies away. The water continues to rush in with Matt telling Scott to hold on to T-Bob. The water pushes them. Then we are taken outside where laser blasts are raining down on Switchblade. Brad is able to use his laser to cut the cables, dropping this cargo container of his. Miles screams, "No!" And then we are taken back to the water gushing out of the entrance. We see Matt and the duo floating out. Then we cut to Jackhammer as Dagger runs away and Switchblade rescues Dagger. Dagger jumps onto the rope as Miles comments that he's always getting him out of a jam.
I wish they would have showed Jackhammer getting smashed.
Yeah, that would have been nice.
They've showed him getting smashed before, but, what's one more time?
Exactly.
Squashed like a pancake. That would have been fun to see.
And Miles now that he'll get Miles comments that he's gonna get masked for this, and switches it into jet mode and flies away. Now where's Dagger?
Down on the ground somewhere after falling off.
Down on the ground, or he has a death grip on that freaking rope.
No kidding.
Because all I can see is him hanging on, and it's like Airwolf when he hits the turbo button.
Right.
Crazy hanging on. So Alex is watching and just chuckles. Then he looks down the cliff to see the trackers. Alex instructs Brad to get Matt, and Brad flies down, drops a rope ladder. Whoops, sorry.
I didn't understand. So, Matt tells Alex to take over the controls while he's doing all this work. And what does Alex do? He just lands Thunderhawk and
watches,
starts barking orders. I'm like, shouldn't you be helping?
Really? What's that?
Provide some cover fire or something. I don't know.
Exactly. But nonetheless, he advises that he can only take 2 as his propeller is damaged. So Matt bravely tells him to take the duo as he'll hang glide down. And this is where I mentioned back in, I think it was MASKast chat 2 with the dashboard discussion where we see the hang glide actually fails them. So Matt calls Spectrum, like I said, and it shorts out. Just then, coincidentally enough, we finally see Shark getting in on the action, which took her a while. She pops up the periscope, and Gloria greets him and says that this is no place to take a dip, and then rescues them. Back on land, we see M.A.S.K striking a pose as Matt takes off his Spectrum mask and discovers a necklace. Matt comments that Mayhem said it was Solomon's treasure. He then concludes that King Solomon's followers created the legend of Saluma to protect the lost treasure. Alex then concludes about the water engineering to move the gorge. Scott is disappointed and says he didn't get anything, while T-Bob pulls out this golden cockroach from his storage compartment, asking if he'd like it. T-Bob sneezes. Scott says, "Yeah." Then T-Bob says he gets it after his checkup, and we fade out with a chuckle. We are then taken on to our PSA.
Right, and this PSA somewhat finishes the last line of the episode, which I thought was good. As we're back at the mansion, and he's looking for a place, and he's notes that he has a place to keep his treasure. He walks into this room with a reel-to-reel machine spinning tape all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
Scott says we have to remember to turn off all appliances when they leave the house, and that they were lucky. Teapot says, yeah, because Matt didn't catch us. Well, Scott corrects him and says, well, what if it would have been an oven or a hot iron? It could have started a fire. And T-Bob agrees and says they could have been, I think he says, crispy critters.
Yes. And then
and they laugh, because jokes about fires are evidently hilarious. Anyway, and then we're out of our PSA in the episode. So I will turn it over to you, sir. What was your verdict?
Well, I'm teetering. I'm teetering, to be honest.
Oh, yeah?
I checked it off as a 5 on our ratings for on the blog. But I'll walk it through. Aside from what I commented about earlier, I'm disappointed that they didn't use Gloria or Brad much in this episode. They bring them around, but they didn't use them very, very much. I mean, you see Brad kind of get in on the dogfight, but then Alex leaves, basically.
Yeah. And just to stop you for a second on that note, we as soon as it landed, we saw a little bit of action there, but they called them up before halftime. And, we've seen other episodes before when they call them late,
mm-hmm.
which is still fine, but they pretty much arrive then, and then they team up and strategize, and then they go out for their attack, where it all seemed just kind of coincidental that they landed the plane just as all the action started.
Right.
And then, like you said, we see Gloria giving chase to Jackhammer at one point, and then she's gone until that little surprise rescue at the end.
Right. So that's the thing that would kind of perplex me is, she didn't really have any action just to save the day for Matt.
Yeah.
So was she, I guess my question was she in the sub and underwater the entire time?
Right.
She could have been fighting Vanessa or something.
Yeah, and another thing too, before I don't want to steal all of your thunder or all of your review, but that whole they found that groove with the water in it, and then I guess that eventually turned into the large waterfall somehow, because I was trying to get that whole situation around my brain. Is where is this waterfall? It looked like it was feeding out of the gorge, right?
Right.
So that didn't make sense either. And where's all this other water coming from if only there was a small little groove in the gorge? So that was confusing to me too.
Yeah, I didn't understand. Of course, it's a cartoon, so they don't have to do too much explanation.
Right. We overanalyze, of course, now that we can, but I don't know. There's disconnect when you watch it now as opposed to when you're a kid.
Right. Rax is now relegated to just pop a switch because he's not keeping up with Miles' plan. So, he's screwing up things, and Dagger basically gets stuck. So it was like, really, we usually see them just run off anyway, but it was like they really just crippled these guys early on to do nothing. And it was Miles basically trying to run off with the treasure, and of course he failed that one.
Yeah.
T-Bob, we've seen in the past, like I commented before, that he mimics human traits, but I think the sneezing bit is a little bit too much. That one, I guess that's what got me. And that's why I'm kind of talking myself down to a 4 at this moment. I realize it's not a big, huge tick, but it's just, this doesn't make sense. But I guess what's keeping me a little high, maybe, is that there was the detail was still there. The thoughtfulness of using the Viper's Mask's acid to eat away at the Sphinx legs was great. the thought of using water pressure, even though we don't know the full mechanics or plumbing thereof, uh, still the water pressure to move the gorge was still a good thought, at least something to use. Um, our ever illustrious Spectrum actually fails Matt. Um,
For the
and
second time.
right, and we could have even used this as a good cliffhanger instead of T Bob getting stuck in that gorge.
Yeah.
Um, but I did like seeing Matt, having a problem. But it would have been better if they was closer to the edge, like he was within inches, rather than it looked to me. And again, I'm gauging with cartoon eyes, I guess, that it looked like he still had several hundred yards to go before he really had to worry. Um, that's just my estimation from the cartoon. But Gloria, like I said, pops up right at the to rescue, and uh, like I said, I think they did do some decent designs, improvements to the design of the cartoon overall. Um, I'm going to stick with my 4.5 just because I'm the positive type of guy I am. But uh, it's it's hard to go much past that. I mean, I'm going to round up, but
Okay.
it's not one of my shiny fives. I guess that's what I'll call it. What about you?
Well, yeah, I just think there's too much in this to even be in the 4 range for me. I was close to giving it a 2. There were some bright spots, and we pretty much hit on them before. Where just talking about the second half, T Bob's little jetpack that he has that we didn't know about, and the animation I thought was good. Of course, the scene where you can see Mayhem through his Viper mask. They're still coming up with new ways each episode. It seems like to like wow us
Hmm.
in a new way, and you don't catch that when you're just picking up an episode here or there. But we've got the benefit of going through uh, in order. And I love seeing that they're taking chances, that they're trying new things. It seems like in each episode. So, there was enough, I thought, that I definitely didn't think this was better than the last episode, which I gave a 3. And I couldn't drop it down one more. So I'm going to stick in the 3 range on this one. And, I pretty much talked about most of my complaints before, in the no voice commands, and they're still doing some of the crazy puns and stuff. But I mean, the thing that really got me were the stupid footsteps, and that it seemed Scott and T Bob were too much of the focal point
Yes.
of the episode throughout. And I can stand them enough, and when they're used well and essentially put in harm's way like they were this time, um, it can be good. But you know, I I was like you. There was just too much, too much with this whole T Bob being sick routine, and uh, I don't know. I just was seeing them too much, and when I do that, I typically drop the rating down, because this is Mask. We want to see some cool vehicle battles. We want to see the masks being used. When we saw, Viper and Spectrum this episode, but it essentially wasn't a battle. I was ready for Matt to do some Spectrum laser or something back at Mayhem when he was doing the Viper at him. We didn't
Right.
get any kind of battle there. So, here again, we got a couple masks used just to, I guess, hold the show together. But I don't know. I just think that over the last basically through this season of episodes, 31 to 40, the animation has been stellar and been way more, been way above the writing of the episodes to me. And I feel like we've taken a step back in some cases, but I don't know. We'll see. Maybe there'll be a couple episodes here as we round out the season that will get me back up into my happy place with Mask. Because I'm kind of in that area. It seems like, I don't know, I'm in that 3 area. I think I did give a 4 not too long ago, but this section I think has been not that great compared to some of the other ones. But
right, I agree.
Yeah, and then we mentioned a couple ticks before with as far as Bruce and little things that we found throughout the episode that I wouldn't necessarily hold it against it, but it was out of place to what we're used to and stuff. But
right.
Anyway, so I won't beat it down too much more. Did you see any similarities to what we wrote in our movie script?
I tried digging, but no, I didn't see anything.
Maybe, I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I really didn't. I haven't been looking too much, and it could be because I haven't been in our script in a while. But maybe we should essentially drop that segment of the podcast because we've revealed quite a bit, and we seem to be going back to the well a lot. I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
We can. I still look just because, out of curiosity.
Okay.
But,
Well, I for me, that's not usually one of the things that I'm looking for when I'm reviewing the episode now. And I don't know if you still did or whatever. So we can keep it. It's fine. But it's been a while since I found something that.
Well, same here.
Remember, So, and we've revealed in
quite a bit.
Spoiled, not spoiled, but told a lot about what we've put in there. So I don't know. Maybe that could be if you're listening to this and if you enjoy the the segment of us comparing it to our movie script, give us some feedback on that and let us know what you think. But let's go over to some real feedback and our poll results. I'm going to refresh real quick because I ended up voting late to the show. I think we have, let's see.
I had 6 showing up here just a little bit ago.
And I think I was the 7th.
Yep.
Oh, come on. So I think we got 7 votes.
Yes. 2 for a 5, 2 for a 4. You're the lonely 3, and 2 for a 2.
Mm-hmm. So I guess that's, I don't know what that would average out to be. Almost in the middle, I guess, or like a 3.5. Right. If there had been one more 3 vote. And then we had 2 comments.
Actually, we had 4.
Oh, we did? Oh, that's right.
4. You scroll down.
We got the Facebook comments and the.
Go ahead and take Mark. I've already translated Sanny's.
Oh, okay, great. Well, before we get into comments, we didn't get one from Anna this week, but since she's not here, I'm going to wish her a happy birthday today.
Yes.
I'm friends with her on Facebook. I don't know if you are too.
I am. I wished her a happy birthday already.
So apparently she was out partying the whole week and didn't watch the episode. But she's one of our. She's been with us since the beginning, so we really appreciate her and wish her a happy birthday.
Yes.
So let's get into the comments. If my freaking computer will cooperate. Mark Lungos chimed in. He says, I can tolerate a lot of silliness in cartoons, but a sneezing robot is way too much. That was his little take on it, which kind of echoes what you said before about T-Bob's characteristics.
Right.
And
And Sandy Riller, I apologize if I said your name wrong. And I'm using Google Translator, so forgive me. But it looks like you're saying, pity that there is no drawing of Mask that is dubbed in the Portuguese language. It would be, it seems to be exemplary only to English. But no matter what that is, I still love the same design as well.
cool.
So,
Well, it sounds like she's wishing she had more of Mask in her native language.
and she should have. Mask was a good cartoon.
Exactly. And then we get Eric from Cartoonopolis. Eric says, "Wow, what can I say about this episode? I sure hope no one takes anything presented in this episode as historical fact because it's nothing but nonsense. Solomon was a king of Israel, not Egypt, and there would have been no reason for the Egyptians to have helped Solomon hide his treasure. As for the episode itself, well, there are just so many things wrong with it. Matt Tracker should be nominated for the Worst Father of the Year award in this one. He basically just abandoned Scott in the middle of nowhere while he and Alex investigate the gorge. Once again, T-Bob's human characteristics are completely ridiculous and utterly irritating, and Venom doesn't even show up until the episode is halfway over. I did like the animation, especially when you can faintly see Mayhem's face through his mask. The Mayhem Tracker confrontation was great too, and they really need more mask battles in a show called Mask. I agree. Still, this episode should have been called The Scott and T-Bob Show.
Yes.
And so that was Eric's take, which kind of echoed my sentiments. And then our buddy Scott Crawford chimed in.
He says, this is a good episode, but as mentioned by Eric, Scott and T-Bob feature quite heavily. That's never a good sign. It means we won't see much Mask versus Venom action. The animation throughout is extremely good. When we first see Matt, Alex, Scott, and T-Bob, they are in Thunderhawk driving with a brace of Rhino. It would have been nice if they had been in Rhino instead. That would have been actually fun. Could have made some reference to it. As we get into the story, Scott and T-Bob come across a piece of cable. I'm not sure how Matt Tracker would know who manufactures Venom's brake parts. Would Master Mechanic Buddy Hawks even know this information? If the origin story from the comics was correct, then perhaps. As per usual, Sly Rax backtalks Miles Mayhem when he is given a command. Then we see T-Bob flying courtesy of a booster in his butt. When did he get that fitted, and why has it never been used before?
Exactly,
yes. The highlight of the episode for me is when Cliff Dagger in Jackhammer makes his initial attack on our MASK team. He drives Jackhammer through the stream. It only lasts a few seconds, but this scene is well done. The animation and the way that Jackhammer moves is great. But about a minute later, confusion happens. When Dagger initially engages Thunderhawk, he is in the gorge. When the MASK transport plane lands, it is above the gorge. Immediately, we see Shark engaging Jackhammer, with the transport taking off in the background. How did Dagger manage to get up there so quickly? Good point. Then somehow Dagger is back down in the gorge again, stuck in the mud. Again, I agree with Eric on how great it is to see Mayhem through Viper's visor, and how can a robot sneeze? Where I wouldn't agree with Eric on is on the premise of the story. Yes, Solomon was a king of Israel, but there were many links to Egypt. In fact, Solomon married the daughter of a pharaoh. There is speculation over the missing tribes who may have ended up in Egypt and further afield. It is therefore conceivable that remnants of Solomon's treasure may have made their way to Egypt and then further down to Nairobi. Or it could all be made up. We'll never know. And he signs it Scott. That was a very good response. And we didn't notice how often Jackhammer seemed to go from inside the gorge to above and back down.
Yeah, yeah. I did notice the initial one when Gloria, when they get right out of the transport plane, that he was back up out of there, and how that logistically could happen. There's no little side ramp to get back up to the side, and from what the scenes that we had seen earlier, so
Right.
that stands to reason. But I did notice that scene too, where he's four wheeling through the water there, and that was pretty cool. Um, you don't see Jackhammer do much four wheeling. It's
No.
more along the road, and it could be just they portray Dagger as a goof,
Well, he is.
and not really a skilled driver or whatever. But it was cool to see that kind of going through, and him and Manta attacking Thunderhawk at the same time. That was really good. So,
Right.
well, we appreciate the comments. Thank you guys so much for chiming in and giving your take on the episode. And I guess for this most part, Scott, I guess probably agreed more with you, and Eric was on my side. But it reflected in the poll results too.
Right.
For some, this was a bad, and some this was, there was some, but there was some good as well to not rate it quite so low. But anyway, that I guess we'll about wrap it up for our review. Our next episode will be episode 39, The Green Nightmare, which, if I remember right, this is one of Anna's favorites. This episode features Vanessa sabotaging Matt's private jet and then crashing it into the jungle of New Guinea. It's up to the rest of the M.A.S.K team to assemble and rescue him. And if I remember right, I think this is the episode where Rax gets shot with some blow darts that put him to sleep, and Vanessa's in the sidecar, and they're headed towards a cliff, and she has to jump over there and grab the handbrake on the bike to save them from going over the cliff. I'm thinking that's the episode. But anyway, I'm hoping, since she likes it, that this will be a little bit better than this episode, and kind of give us a nice push into episode 40, and then our overview of 31 to 40 and season 4 of MASKast. So thanks for taking the time, partner. And we will keep pushing on. I don't know when we're going to do the next episode review, if we're going to do a chat in the meantime, but we'll try to get a couple more podcasts in at least next month. And of course, for M.A.S.K Day, hopefully we will be able to do a chat as well for that, and get some people to chime in and just have some fun with that. And I'm sure we're going to take a little bit of time getting closer to RetroCon to kind of get everything, arrangements taken care of. So we probably won't podcast towards the beginning of September, but we'll crank out some more episodes in August.
Right. And I plan to go up to RetroCon and do lots of video footage. I might have to get some more SIM cards or whatever to stock up. But I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, this has been great. I'm hoping we can turn out some more episodes. Perhaps even look at a review before we head off to RetroCon or whatever next venue. I would like to get another comic review in. I know we've been trying to get a hold of Eric.
Yeah, we need to coordinate with him. And he was in the middle of a move, I think, when we were trying to do it earlier. So I think he's now a little more freed up, and we wanted to dive into the second volume of comics that was released in, I think, 86. And there was 9 of those. And I think we were going to try to maybe tackle the first three, and that small little preview comic that was in some of those comics in, I think it was September '85, before the actual first volume was released of comics. So we'll see if we can get Eric on the horn and do that episode maybe in August. Be a nice little change of pace.
Yeah. All right. I think that does it for the live portion and for our podcast. So on behalf of Jason, I'm Wyatt. Thank you for watching and listening. MASKast.
And let's, oh, shoot.
We have a question over here about the Fantastic World. I had to look it up to make sure of what I was looking at for the Hanna-Barbera cartoons. To answer your question, Vaughn, for me, it was a toss-up. I grew up more with Yogi Bear, but I did like the Huckleberry Hound cartoons that they would interject from time to time for this Fantastic World. What about you? I don't know if you've remembered much of it. I had to Google it, to be honest.
Yeah, I went ahead and did the same thing because there's a lot of shows. I guess the judging by the Fantastic World, it's more of all of the Hanna-Barbera cartoons. I was thinking there was some kind of one called Hanna-Barbera Superstars. The GoBots was 1985. I didn't know that was a Hanna-Barbera. I was a big GoBots fan.
You were?
Still am. Matter of fact, I was considering printing off some of those papercraft templates. The guy that I found had, I would say, a dozen GoBot ones. I was like, oh, cool. I like the GoBots. Trying to see what else. If the Fantastic World was, I guess it was just a block of different cartoons, like you were saying. So, yeah, I remember watching Yogi Bear and Dippity Dog and all those guys. What was the cat? The shoot.
Oh, yeah.
Kill me now. Heavens to Murgatroyd.
Snagglepuss?
Yes. I remember him.
I liked him too. Mostly that line, but I liked him.
I'm just looking through the Hanna-Barbera shows. There were some good ones here. I don't remember the Flintstone Kids. That was 1986. Of course, the Jetsons. Paddington Bear, Paw-Paws. Don't remember that. The Pirates of Dark Water. I've heard lots of good things about that. I know it was cut short, and that was early 90s. I've never watched that. A Pup Named Scooby-Doo. That was another reincarnation of Scooby-Doo at one point. And then, of course, the Snorks. I remember those. That was like the Smurfs, but underwater. Richie Rich. Now, I watched some Richie Rich, let me tell you.
I remember watching that a lot.
And his dog Dollar and the butler. Can't remember the butler's name. What else? Yeah, there was a couple incarnations of Yogi. Yogi's Treasure Hunt.
Yeah.
Yo Yogi. I don't remember that one. What if that was the hip hop version? But yeah, there were some great Hanna-Barbera cartoons, let me tell you. Hanna-Barbera, and what was the other one? That was, I don't know if they joined with Hanna-Barbera at one point. Ruby Spears. They're the ones that did like Mr. T,
Oh yes.
and they did Pac-Man. They did that weird Rubik's Cube one.
For whatever odd reason, I actually liked the Rubik's Cube one.
Did you?
Yeah.
I've gone back and I've seen I think they got a couple episodes online, but
I might not now, but I know.
I remember. Yeah, I remember it being. I think it was like a Pac-Man Rubik's Cube block that they put those two shows together, and I love watching Pac-Man now.
Yeah,
I watched me some Pac-Man back in the day, but don't remember. I might have switched off when the Rubik's Cube came on. A little note to animated cartoon fans out there: if you get Netflix, you better start watching your Spider-Man and the Amazing Friends, because it's leaving the end of August. I think it's August 31st.
Oh, I like that too. I better do that.
So, and there's not that many episodes. It's like maybe, I want to say there's maybe 26.
Wow.
They did 3 seasons, but yeah, I remember going through all of those episodes with my middle boy. He's the one that really got into Spider-Man there for a while, and we watched all those episodes, and they're all good. It might be one of the best things that Marvel's ever did. Some of the movies that I haven't seen aside, but it was some for back then. I remember watching a lot of the Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, and it seemed like it was from the amount of episodes, it was the same show over and over again for several years, several reruns. So take advantage of that while you can before August 31st, because it's going away. So, well, what do you say, partner? Time to get out of here?
Yeah, I think it's time for us to sign it out.
Okay. Well, we appreciate everybody tuning in and viewing tonight.
Yeah.
And if you're, I guess, get ready for the podcast version will be released in a couple of days. But we appreciate everybody that's tuned in tonight. And we will see you soon.
Laters.